Hello, I'm Chris, certified RV technician with Unique Camping Marine, and today we're going to be walking you through the steps along with some tips and tricks to using Restore It to get your sensors working again effectively. You're going to start by dumping the black tank, then rinsing the black tank thoroughly to remove any residual waste, toilet paper, or previous treatments. You can rinse the black water holding tank with the valve closed to allow water to back up inside of the holding tank and fill up all of the spaces and remove any debris which might be left behind inside there. Just use caution when doing so, because if you don't want to overflow the toilet and make a big mess inside of your RV. Then close the black tank valve. Fill your black tank completely full with water. If water is not touching the sensor probes, it cannot get it clean. You might ask, how will I know that the black water holding tank is full if my sensors aren't working in the first place? You'll know that the black water holding tank is full of water when you start to see water backing up the pipe that goes from the toilet into the holding tank. When you start to see that water rising up inside of there, you know you've got a full holding tank of water, and then you can add the Restore It to the black water holding tank. Shake the bottle of Restore It well. Shake the bottle of Restore It for roughly 10 to 15 seconds. What you're going to do when you're doing this is you're going to mix up all of the bacteria and enzymes inside of the bottle, because they sometimes can settle at the bottom of the bottle, and you'll want to get those all mixed up before you pour the Restore It into the holding tank. Pour 16 ounces of Restore It into the holding tank through the toilet. Measure out 16 ounces of Restore It by pouring it into either a measuring cup or a small pitcher. It should equal 2 cups, or you can just eyeball it and pour in half the bottle of Restore It. If you're worried about if you over-measured or under-measured Restore It when you added it into the black water holding tank, worry not. We're talking about billions of bacteria inside of Restore It, and so if it's over or under a little bit, it should still work just fine. Restore It is heavier than water, so when you pour it into a full holding tank through the toilet, it will fall down the pipe and distribute inside the black water holding tank. We recommend putting in the Restore It after the tank is full, not before you fill it, because since it is heavier than water, it might just stay inside of the discharge pipe. Allow Restore It to work for at least 12 to 72 hours. Leaving Restore It inside the black water holding tank for extended amounts of time will not do any damage to any of the gaskets, seals, or piping associated with the black water holding tank. In fact, if you leave the Restore It inside the holding tank for longer, the better the results will be. We recommend at least 12 to 72 hours, but certainly lean more towards that 72-hour mark. If you're a full-timer and you're worried about not being able to let the Restore It sit inside of the holding tank for the full 72 hours, you can fill the black water holding tank with as much water as you're comfortable with, add the Restore It to the black water holding tank, and then use the toilet as necessary throughout the 72 hours which you are at the site. From there, you can dump the holding tank, and it still will be fairly effective as far as cleaning off the sensors. If you can get away with it though, step away from the RV for the 72 hours, maybe use the campground facilities, and then after those 72 hours, you can get back to using the RV holding tank with working sensors. Open the black tank valve and drain the tank. Rinse the tank thoroughly for 20 to 30 minutes using either the onboard tank rinsing system or a wand through the toilet. After you've dumped the black water holding tank with all of the water and the Restore It which was inside of the black water holding tank, rinse the tank out thoroughly with either a rinse wand like this one or the onboard tank rinser. You'll want to rinse it for around 20 to 30 minutes in order to make sure that you got absolutely everything out of the black water holding tank, which might have broken down from the Restore It which was inside there. If you're using the RV's onboard tank rinsing system, It is best to start rinsing the black water holding tank after you've dumped the RV Restore It and the full tank of water with the black water holding tank valve in the closed position. This will allow for water to start filling up inside the tank, and then you can periodically open the black water holding valve to let that water rush out of the tank. In doing this, you will allow for a better rinse of the black water holding tank, because unfortunately the pressure which is provided from many of the onboard tank rinsers in RVs is not great enough to touch every corner and nook and cranny of the RV's black water holding tank. Repeat if necessary. Sometimes debris and paper can get really stuck on the sensors inside the holding tank, and so you may need to use Restore It again and repeat the process. If you need to do this, there are 2 full treatments inside the bottle, and that's why we have it this way. So if you need to, you can do the process over again using Restore It to fully clean off the sensors. A question we get asked a lot is, can I use Restore It inside of the gray water holding tank to clean the sensors? And truthfully, the best answer to this is it's not recommended. The reason why is because this is meant to break down solid wastes and paper, and the buildup inside of a gray water holding tank on the sensors is typically from grease. So if you do want to clean off the sensors inside of your gray water holding tank, we recommend using nearly a full bottle of Dawn Ultra dish soap, and then rinse it into the gray water holding tank by running the sink and letting it fill up all of the way, and let that sit overnight and dump. From there, you should have working gray water sensors. Well, that about wraps it up. Let us know if you have any follow-up questions and leave them down in the comments section. We can add them then to the FAQ section of the product page. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.